Hey guys, so in this video I'm going to be describing about camber, caster, and toe is, and what stuff goes with each one and how they can affect performance and tire wear on your vehicle. So the first one is going to be here is camber. And basically, as the picture shows here, it's that angle of how the tires are tilted inward or outward. So if you basically have your tire straight up and you bend it over to the right, or you bend it over to the left, that's the camber angle. And so this here is the top of the tire and this is the bottom. And this one we're going to say is like the right front tire. So when it's bent outward like that, that's positive. When the top of it is away, it's positive. And when the top is towards the engine, it's negative. So basically if you have both front tires pointed inward towards the engine, that's negative, and they're both pointed outward away from the engine, that's positive. And as you can see too, so here's basically, this is the road on each one, and you can tell only the inside or the outside is what's going to come in contact with the road, and that can cause tire wear, as I'll get into. And so whatever side is away from it does not come into contact with the tire. Now, some of the negatives and positives of it is basically most tires are, race car tires are negative because it causes more grip when the weight shifts to its side. So again, we'll say this is the right front tire. When you're racing and the car is coming and it takes a hard left, because it's taking a hard left, those G-forces are going to force the car to the right side. And so that weight is going to shift to the right side. So even though this one is pointed inward, and the right side of the tire is a little bit off, because of that vehicle weight shifting to that side, it causes it to go back flat again. So basically when you're in your hard corner, your tire is actually going to be flat, and that causes you to get a better grip and causes better cornering. And so that's why they're usually mostly negative. For an everyday car, they may just be zero because you're not going to do any hard cornering, but in race cars they'll be a little more negative. Then we get into toe. Toe is basically as shown here. Toe in is when the tires are pointed inwards towards each other, and toe out is when they're pointed away. So you can kind of look down at your feet and you point your toes inward toward each other, that's toe in, and you point your toes outward, that's toe out. And that's basically the angle, your toe angle of your tires. Usually toe outward is usually better for cornering, because let's say for this one you're turning to the right. If you notice here, that tire is already turned towards the right side, so it's going to help you go into that right corner. But even though this one is facing the opposite direction, you may think it might cancel it out, but not necessarily, because you're shifting your weight towards that side of the vehicle, so this tire is getting more of that weight and more of that traction, whereas this tire out here isn't really getting much of that traction, so it's not going to affect it. Same again over here on camber, because your weight is shifting towards that side, it may do the opposite for the other tire, but your weight is on that side, and that side of your vehicle tire matters the most during that corner. And so that's again same with toe, because it's pointed in that direction and you turn to that direction, you're getting a little bit of an advantage on the cornering when it shifts weight to the turning wheel. Whereas when they're pointed inward, it'll add stability. So it basically does the opposite, and that's usually used for drag racing, so you can go in a nice straight line and it just kind of adds stability, so it doesn't cause any pull or any of that. Then we go on to caster, and caster could be kind of difficult. I'll even post a picture of a shopping cart wheel that they like to compare it to. Basically when it's tilted, the axle, this is the strut, and this is the vertical axis. So that's the vertical axis is straight on it, so it's an imaginary line straight up, and that strut will be backwards this way, but the contact where it mounts to the wheel is up in the front, and this part back here is where that axis, that strut is mounted towards the vehicle. Down here is the opposite. The strut will be pointed forward, but down here where it mounts to the wheel is a little bit backwards. And basically, it's that angle of how that strut is mounted forward or backwards. So if you imagine like motorcycles, and you like Harley, when that axis, that frame is way back here and the tire is way out front, that's very positive. And a crotch rocket may look like you're mounted right over the tire, and that's almost zero or maybe even negative. Now with a bike, like I said, with essentially no hands, the more positive it is, it adds more high-speed stability. That's why you can ride certain bikes without your hands. Some are easier than others because it adds stability. Most vehicles are positive because that you want that high-speed stability, because if you don't have stability when you're going down the road at 150 miles an hour, you won't get stability and you'll be able to start wandering, which is the negatives of negative camber caster, is it's unstable and it'll cause a lot of wandering. So you don't want wandering at high speeds. And so it also adds cornering, because when you also have it positive, after you turn, it'll drag it back in, and that helps you corner better so you don't lose steering of it. So you do go into the corner, and then when you come out of the corner, that wheel will pull backwards and go straight again. And that's basically what caster is. Each one, if you're like a tech and you get tire wear and pull, these things can affect certain ones. So camber will definitely cause tire wear, because as you can see in this one here, how it's tilted to the side. Notice that this little part right here is the only part that's coming in contact with the road, and up here it doesn't come into contact with the road. So you're going to get a lot of wear on the outside. Same with down here, because only the inward part is making contact with the road, not the outward part. You're going to get a lot of wear on the inside of it. And camber also causes a pull. It causes a pull to the side that is the most positive. So it's not how positive or how negative it is, it's the difference between the two. So they could both be very, very positive, and if they're both very close to each other, it won't cause a pull. But if one is enough more positive than the other, then it'll cause a pull. Usually the difference is 0.5. So if you have, say the right side is 2.5 degrees and the left side is 2.0 degrees, it'll pull to that 2.5 side, because that's the side with the most positive. Toe also causes tire wear. Usually causes like scuffing across it and like different uneven wear patterns, because your tire is almost essentially, as you can see here, to the extreme. It would be getting dragged upwards, and so that can cause uneven tire wear throughout different parts of your tire. But if they're in different variations of each other, it doesn't cause a tire pull. Caster causes no tire wear, because your tires will still be making the same contact. It's just how the strut is mounted inward and to the back of the tire, so it doesn't cause any pull, or it doesn't cause any tire wear, but it does cause a pull. And unlike camber over here, it's the opposite. It actually pulls to the side with the most negative. And that's pretty much it on the three angles of camber, caster, and toe. I'll even post a link that shows a better description of it. That's pretty much it. Thanks for watching.